topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Benita Bell-Andersen, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Hey, welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. My name is Benita Bell-Andersen, and today we have a very special guest with a field that I didn't even know was a thing. And so I'd love to invite John Hankins to the proverbial podcast stage. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Benita. Really happy to be here.
Yeah, well, John, I actually, when I first learned about financial therapy, somebody actually told me there's no such thing. And I went, yes, there is. Yes, there is. So let me just tell you a little bit about John. He kind of started asking the question about, what happens when the steady paycheck stops and life keeps going. And he started exploring the emerging field of financial therapy. And he combines decades of experience in business and finance and social work to help people navigate the emotional and practical realities of retirement. So he shares how financial therapy bridges the gap between money and mental health. And so his goal is to help clients find clarity and peace of mind and renewed purpose in a whole new chapter of life. So he says that he reinvented himself at age 71, kind of like me too. And really, I think what he's out to do is offer inspiration for anyone wondering what comes after, quote unquote, work. So John, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I think one of the things we want to get into here is what is financial therapy. I want to counter what your friend told you. I could start with that because I think
let's start with what the heck. Yeah, because this person was, oh no, there's no such thing as yes, there is. I know there is. So yeah, tell us what financial therapy is. Okay,
so financial therapy is this idea that we have a relationship with money is another component of our wellness. It should be part of the mental health profession, just like we look at exercise, food, sex, all these other different specialties within the mental health profession, and money should be part of that. So to that end, this was a problem that was recognized on both in the mental health community as well as the financial planning community. Financial planners were getting people coming in, they were trying to do a plan. They couldn't make any progress on their plans because they had so much, emotional stuff going on. And on the mental health side, people were coming in, with their baggage. Here I got all this anxiety about money, and mental health professionals like, I don't know anything about money. I don't know what to do with this. So around 2009, those two professions got together and formed the Financial Therapy Association.
Who knew?
Which is the kind of the home of financial therapy. There are other people out there that use that label, but the Financial Therapy Association is the place where this really happens. There is a professional journal, an academic journal, the Journal of Financial Therapy. I think it's published out of Texas Tech University. peer-reviewed journal. It publishes quarterly. It's actually free. If you want to get into really geeky stuff, go check that out.
You can go check it out.
There's a certification process. There are about 200 certified financial therapists.
Okay.
So we all hang out together at the Financial Therapy Association. We have a great annual conference every year. Next year it's going to be in Austin, Texas, if anybody's interested in attending. But it's a very active community, and yeah, we come at it from all sorts of different perspectives. You think of it as an overlay. So there are people that can say, from the mental health side, cognitive behavioral therapy, that's my thing, and I apply here in the financial realm. Other people might come from the narrative therapy world, all these different pieces, but it's a very active, dynamic area, and there is no shortage of demand. I can't tell you the number of people that they reach out to me and say, I didn't know it was a thing. I heard about financial therapy, and I've had all this anxiety, didn't know where to go, and here it is. For me, as you said, I was really kind of looking for where I was going after I retired. I was doing a lot of nonprofit work.
No, what did you retire from?
Okay, so I spent about 35 years working in various aspects of the information technology industry. I started out actually as an administrator in a major university for IT, and then went to work in the private sector. I did a lot of work in terms of early meaning 1990s internet work, not really technical stuff, but helping to get colleges and universities connected to the internet. I did that for about 5 years, and I wound up. I worked for IBM for about 10 years. So yeah, I was in, and I started out with a master's degree in social work and went off in
it's just
that
like
direction.
Kind of went like this.
Yeah. So I found myself doing a bunch of volunteer work where I was helping nonprofits with financial issues, budgeting, those sorts of things. And I was saying to my friends, I'm actually a therapist, because these people that I'm working with are so anxious about how to deal with now they're managing these grants, all these different pieces. And I picked up the Sunday New York Times. I looked at the business section. On the front page of the business section was an article about the Financial Therapy Association. I joined the next day.
You went, Eureka!
So this is where I want to be. And so I'm in my fourth year of working in this field, getting more education in this field, participating in various aspects of it. And yeah, I think it's really interesting, important work. I feel like I'm doing something that is really fulfilling for me. I feel incredibly fortunate to have found this niche at this point in my life. And so, yeah.
Well, how would you say, I've been a financial advisor for 25 years. How would you say, and actually, John, there have been times when people have said, are you sure you're not a therapist? And I've never gotten a therapist license, but anyway, we've always laughed about that because we're talking about a lot of things, but how would you say financial therapy differs from financial advising?
Well, you have to look at it on a continuum. Okay, so there are financial planners that have a certification in financial therapy, and their application of financial therapy is really to provide a more skilled and safer space for their clients. Okay, so when they see clients that are kind of going off the rails, need to do some planning but just can't get it done, then that's one version of financial therapy in the planning realm. think where I come from on the mental health side, it's much more where the financial issues, which can take all sorts of form, really are dysfunctional. Someone who has, a spending addiction,
yeah.
Where they're really, facing very serious life challenges. Or if it's a spending issue, or I work with people that have considerable wealth and simply can't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And carry around anxiety at a level, anxiety about money, even though they may have a lot of it, they can't. It doesn't soothe their anxiety, right? They thought if they had a bunch of money, they'd feel better. They get the money, and it's like, why am I still worrying about it every month?
Yeah. There's no purpose. There's no nothing. But the thing that I would, can you think of some examples of, like, what would you like the challenges and the emotions that you see people exhibiting when they need financial therapy?
Well, I'll give you two common ones. One is around debt. Okay, the people that have very good incomes, but still have accumulated significant amounts of debt. So that's very typical, and they recognize, this is key, they recognize that it's not just about somebody giving them a budget, that they really need to work on their relationship with money, why have they accumulated this debt? What's what's driving them?
Yeah.
If it's, it can be a legitimate addiction. I only feel good when I'm ordering stuff on Amazon. That's they're just like, I only feel good when I'm having a drink. Same, that's in the same little world. That's one. A second is that I work with a lot of couples. I think couples work is really important because money is such, it is really such an area of struggle, and the area of shared finances, what I call what's mine, what's yours, what's ours. How do we figure that out? And I think people, and this may be a little more of a generational thing. I'm not quite sure. Well, I think it's definitely the more as we, every woman that comes into a relationship has a job. It's not like, oh, I got married and I'm a stay-at-home mom right from the get-go. So both members of the couple come in with, potentially significant income, significant wealth, different economic situations, and getting that sorted out can be challenging. Of course, I see the people where it is challenging. There's lots of people out there where it's not, but I see the ones where it is. So I have a kind of a biased view.
Why do you think that money carries so much emotional weight?
Well, I think there are two areas. One is outward, that we live in a society where we are bombarded with the appearances.
Yeah.
I have to have a cool car. I have to have nice clothes. I want to, money is a vehicle for status.
Yeah.
Right. And the especially with the way we live today, social media, all of this, we're constantly bombarded with here's the thing you need. You didn't know you needed it, but here's the thing you need.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's there's that outward piece. I think the inward piece is that just biologically we live in an environment of alertness, right? I don't want to use the word fear, but we're on alert. We could be attacked by a wild animal at any moment. we've moved beyond that, but our brains have not. So
right.
there's
Right.
this constant tension, and so we're always looking for security, and money is such a big part of security.
Yeah.
Right. So we're as human beings, we're always reaching for security, and one of the things that we're culturally, okay, we've got the biological, we've got the cultural, right? The cultural piece is if you have more money, you will be more secure.
Yeah.
All right. So one piece, then, if you don't have the money, that drives the need for security. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, even when they're making money, they're still feeling this need for it hasn't given them the security that they thought it would. It's kind of a false idol.
What do you think? Can you think of some common money beliefs that people carry from childhood? Have you seen something like that?
Oh, well. Oh yeah. I've seen it from more than childhood. I've seen this intergenerational piece. It's surprising how many people you talk to where you as you start to dig into it, their money beliefs were really rooted in their grandparents' beliefs during the Great Depression.
Yeah.
That those things they're handed down generation to generation. But certainly a common one is growing up in a household where there was constant tension over money. My parents always fought about money, and then a reaction to that with a lot of people is, I don't want anything to do. Money's bad. Money just creates problems. So I don't really want to have anything to do with money, which really, that's really not an option. but the way that that manifests itself is to become money avoidant. No, I never look at a bank statement. I don't even know what a bank statement is. I just get money and I spend it.
Well, how can those unresolved like emotional issues around money affect relationships? I mean, I'm sure that's something else, that these issues can affect relationships, retirement. I mean, we're talking about helping people who are making a huge transition from working their whole life into like the next part of life. And if they're carrying those things, I think it can affect not only their physical health, right?
Sure. Well, I think we're talking about retirement. We tying that back to security, right? So we have a very concrete path that we culturally lay out around security. We even call it that. We call it social security, right? And we say, okay, so you're working. You need to have a retirement account. You need to have a 401k. You need to put money away. And so we do that, and I think that plows a path, right? I mean, we both have been down this path. Okay.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I'm putting money away every month. Great. I've been doing this for 20 years. Wow. I look at my account, and this is really great. How much money I'm saving. I feel secure. Tremendous sense of security. And then I wake up one day. I'm going to retire, and I've built this neural pathway, right? This whole relationship with that retirement account where I've just been putting money into it, and it's suddenly now, okay, you're going to start taking money out. What? I don't know how to do that. nobody told me how to do this.
Yeah. What if it goes away?
Yeah. I need to protect this. I have really no clue on the how to really reverse the current of these emotional issues, because I've spent 20 or 30 years where all of that has flowed in the inward direction. Now I I deserve, right? I deserve to feel good about it flowing out. And I don't know how to achieve that.
Yeah.
And nobody told me how, that this was going to happen.
Well, have you seen, how have you helped clients then recognize when their financial struggles are really emotional or behavioral patterns in disguise? How, I'm sure there's a point where people are become aware, but how do you help them realize, oh, these are emotional things going on?
Well, that is kind of a self-fulfilling. People typically, when people show up at my doorstep, they have made that. I don't have to convince them of that.
Yeah.
They have gone through the I need a therapist. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm whatever, and I know this is around money. And then just where we started out, I learned about financial therapy. I didn't know it was a thing. So here I am.
I'm wondering if what you're doing is, I'm wondering if what you're describing is people like having self-compassion and realizing they need to heal their relationship with money. I don't think people are ever going to heal the relationship with money unless they come to an awareness of that.
Yeah, I think back to your previous question. Yeah, they've taken the first step, but it's like, okay, I don't feel well. I know I have some kind of emotional problem. I know it's connected with money, but I don't know what's the next step. I don't know where to go with this. So yeah, then absolutely, what I do is really start to help them decompose that. I mean, it is very traditional. Excuse me. At least my approach is pretty traditional from a therapeutic side. I'm a big fan of narrative therapy. One of the things that I see, the people that show up at my doorstep is they have this story about themselves. Here, I'm not good with money. Here's the mistakes I made, all these things. And so I really like to use narrative therapy to help to decompose and rebuild that narrative they have about themselves. Let's look at all
would that be like what a first session would look like then? Let's get into it kind of in practice, so would that be where you would start with the first session with someone?
A first session is generally more information gathering. That there's more, there's typically a lot to uncover.
Yeah.
So in a first session, I might very well talk about my use of narrative therapy, and I might kind of have some comments like, it sounds like you've got this story about yourself. You sound like it's, you really see yourself in a very negative light, something like that. But to really get into it is it can be a lot of sessions.
Right. Well, can you walk us through an example, without any names or anything, of course, but can you walk us through an example of how financial therapy helps somebody transform their financial and emotional life? Can you think of a client?
Sure. I'll give you a couple. Okay. I'll give you a story about a couple. Okay. So this couple came to me, and this is really, I think, I see a lot of this is, here's the one party, they're making a bunch of money. The other party is making somewhat less money. The one party is very money savvy, really a lot of, financial stuff. The other party is very money avoiding.
Also typical.
Yeah, and they are trying to come together. The one party is like, I really want us to plan. I need to understand what you're doing as far as saving for retirement, and I'm really anxious that I don't know what you're doing. And my parents, my father was really bad with finances, and it turned out that when he tried to retire, he really struggled, and I'm really anxious about not knowing that you're saving, and that at some point this is going to destroy us. We don't have a good plan, and the wheels may come off 10 years from now, and I'm worried about it now. Okay. That's one side. The other side is, I can't stand to talk about money. Every time the other party wants to talk about it, all I want to do is withdraw. I just want to go get in bed and put a pillow over my head and shut out the world. And in that case, I worked individually with the avoidant party, and we had like 3 sessions of just talking through all of the everything that was going on. And where we got to was that person had some credit card debt. It was not very large in the scheme of things, and I helped to normalize that. Once I did that, they started to feel better and more secure. Then we spent some time where they went through, and they hadn't all of their credit. They had like 4 credit cards that were all in collections because they had just like stopped.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
We walked through step by step, got them. Let's just start working on this. Once they started working on it, this isn't me, but I think having someone, a financial therapist there, really gave that person much more security and much more confidence to move forward. They knew that they weren't alone. Unfortunately, they firmly believed if they exposed this to their partner, who was this financially savvy side of the equation, was like, yeah, this is horrible. You're a horrible person. You don't have, you're not paying your credit card bills. So it was that was a really successful, I'm telling you, a big success story, because that was a really successful story over a period of a couple of months. To get that turned around. But I firmly believe that was as much about just someone being there on the therapy side that was comfortable talking about money and knew kind of the ins and outs of those pieces that made a big difference.
Right. Wow. Well, how do you balance I mean, like, there's a practical side of money management, right? Where you're just doing the stuff you need to do to keep everything going. How do you balance the practical side of money management with that whole emotional side in your work?
Boy, that's a great question. These are all great questions. But that's a tough one especially in terms of expectations, where I've had people that say, okay, I want to start seeing you as a financial therapist. Can I send you some spreadsheets? And my response is, whoa, this isn't about me just looking at your spreadsheets. We got to understand the issues and talk through the issues, and before we get to the practical. I mean, the whole problem in financial planning is that you're in the practical on day one, and the thing that I do that I think is important is I provide reassurance that we will get to the practical. But we have to. It's not going to be helpful for me to tell you how to do a budget if you're still carrying all of this money avoidance stuff or whatever. So
Well, it makes me think almost, yeah, it's kind of like, isn't that kind of like the whole emotional side of it needs to be a foundation?
Exactly. I mean, you can think of it as the foundation is in some way broken or in disrepair to a degree that has really resulted in some serious dysfunction. And so you have to go back and understand that and figure out how you're going to do that repair.
Well, so John, how do you help clients? Are there certain exercises or tools that you use to help clients uncover like money scripts or patterns or habits that are harming them?
I'm not a big user. There's a whole bunch of tools out there, little surveys you can take that puts you in, are you money avoidant? Are you a money status person? There's different things. Yeah, I'm not. I really take each individual very individually. I mean, full transparency, I only work part-time. So I see a limited number of people, and I really work hard to understand what their story is and how we make our way through that. We're on a journey together, and everybody's different. Everybody's got their own little nuances. I think that in this work, we tend to get people that have really multi-layered problems and multifaceted problems. So they can be very, very complex. A lot to unpack.
How can you measure success then? Are you looking for something when you're working with somebody? But how would you measure? Okay, I've been successful with this client.
Well, I do that in two ways. I think one is I ask them what does success look like? Why are you here? What are you trying to fix? Yeah. Then I, on the other hand, try and apply my own, kind of professional view of what are some of the things that we need to work on. The work is slow. That's one of the real challenges is, I think, for any therapist, is that a lot of this stuff has been many years in the making, and you're not going to undo it. In 3 sessions. I will tell you that one of the other things that, as a man in a largely female-dominated profession, I see a fair number of men where it is whatever's on the plate that day. And I mean, I talk to people about trying to help them with thinking about their home renovations, how they're raising their kids, their relationship with their spouse, all these different pieces. But I really believe that there's a lot of really isolated and lonely men out there, and being in therapy with another man is just a beneficial thing that they keep coming back for.
Cool. Well, you've spoken about, I mean, we talked a little bit at the beginning about you transitioning out of traditional employment. And you'll probably laugh at this, but did financial therapy enter into your journey, and how you came to this? Did you feel like, oh, I'm good, I'm perfect? Did you have to do your own financial therapy?
I was doing my own financial therapy kind of 10 years ahead of schedule, and I'll tell you the Great Recession came along, and I had a bunch of, I had like 4 or 5 different retirement. I had a TIAA CREF 403B thing because I worked in university. I had an IRA. I had this bunch of different accounts, and of course they all got hammered by the by the Great Recession. But I was working, and I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. But I came to the conclusion that I needed to consolidate what I was doing. Right.
Okay.
I had gotten into these accounts, as we all do, and there's tons of research on this. I'm like, oh, okay, here's your 401k plan, and here's the 6 different mutual funds you can sign up for. So
Right,
so I was, things were, where I had all this stuff that was really, there was no plan. It was like chaos. What did I think about 20 years ago? And I signed up for that, that mutual fund. And so the one thing that I figured out was I need to just consolidate all this stuff and really make it start to make sense, because retirement feels like it's 10 years away. I was in my late 50s, like, hey, I really need to get serious about this. And I looked at all of this, and I have an older brother who's been very into investing and likes to do that, and been pretty good at it. And I looked at all this, and it was like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I do know that this is a really emotional thing, and it is. I should not be doing it. I should hand this over to someone else, and I don't want to, when the market's taking a dive, have to be thinking about what I should sell or what's happening. Yeah. And so I went and I put everything into an investment advisor, and it is expensive, but it was, to me, it's been well worth it, because I'm just, my advisor will call me and they want to tell me about what, here's the decisions we're making, and I'm like, I am paying you to not have this phone call with me. I don't want to know. This is
my experience has been, I've had people say, you can never retire, because for me, doing all the money management and everything, but really behind that was a whole lot of trust in what I was doing. So I guess we're running up on the end of our time together. It always happens way too soon. But I want to ask you, what advice would you give someone who's nearing retirement, who feels anxious about their financial future, despite, like what you were talking about, they're feeling, they say, oh, I'm prepared, but they're still anxious. What kind of advice would you give that person?
Well, I think that one thing is to find somebody to talk to. They shouldn't be alone. Is a starting point. A relative, a peer, coworker. Find somebody to talk to, so they can get some different points of view. Think about how this is going to work. Talk to some retired people about how and people that they think are, that they kind of admire or think being successful. I think that the other piece is that, and this, I'm not shopping for business here, but if they feel like there is such a level of dysfunction, seek out a financial therapist, get some help. I think it's really important to see this as a journey that you don't want to do by yourself.
Right.
It's okay to get help.
And most people who listen on a regular basis know this, but on my website is a place where the information, you'll be able to go to it, find a PDF that has all of John's information. So if you do want to contact John about that, then information about where you can find him is there. So let's kind of do a little bit of big picture takeaways type of thing. First of all, what do you wish more financial professionals, maybe somebody like me, but I think I've learned a lot about this sort of thing along my road. But what do you wish more financial professionals and therapists understood about the connection between money and mental health? I don't think they really.
I wish they understood more of the work of the Financial Therapy Association, that it addresses both of those professions in some really, really very useful ways, and ways that they could become financial therapy informed. They don't have to become financial therapists, but they could become more informed about the work of the Financial Therapy Association and how they can apply that to their work.
Right. Well, we're going to have to wrap this up, but what would you say would be one small step that somebody could take to begin improving their relationship with money?
Oh, well, I think recognizing they have a relationship, and kind of really looking at, are they looking at a scarcity, coming from a place of scarcity? Are they looking at this as a status piece? What is their relationship with money? And again, I think there's material out there they could read that could help them to start to do that kind of self-evaluation. Right.
Well, you're making me think. I mean, the latest book that I wrote was for divorced people or people that have lost a spouse. And there's so much dysfunction that goes along with someone who's feeling like they're having to start their life over, like I had to 25 years ago, or someone who had a spouse that said, "Oh, honey, I'll take care of everything," and then they die. And so, I think that people, no matter what kind of situation they have, you're right. They're not going to make a change. They're not going to move forward if they don't recognize that at the very beginning that they're going to have to do something.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah.
So, John, with that, our time is up. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for all this fantastic. This is such an important topic, and it impacts everyone. Really, we all, life can get kind of crazy sometime, but I think that with this kind of assistance, people can really have some peace of mind so they can move forward into retirement, with joy, and be able to go out and make a new, be able to go contribute in new ways.
Yep, I'm with you. We deserve it. We've all worked hard.
Yes.
We deserve a good retirement.
Yes. So, John, with that, and for all of you out there listening, thank you so much for joining us today on the Ask Good Questions podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Benita.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Benita Bell-Andersen next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.